Press the on button. There you go.
Hi, it's 7 o'clock, June 23rd, meeting of the Litchfield Budget Committee. Shall we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we go on to public input. Would you like to nothing? All right, no public input. Any additions or review of the agenda?
Looks good.
Look at that, we already picked up 10 minutes. All right, review and acceptance of the minutes. I had sent a couple of edits to you. I don't know if you got them.
From you?
Yeah.
No,
from
I
me.
haven't gotten it.
All right.
But I got Andrews and I got one from Chris.
All right. So do we want to just table them and then, 'cause I don't, were your edits included in the last draft?
No, mine was a simple little
Well,
thing.
what was your, just curious what your edits were?
140, it was the discussion of the, had I been planning, I would have printed them out. One was the clarification. It said that I didn't believe, that Mrs. Douglas said that the school should not spend $400,000 in a month, and I clarified that saying we should not have unexpected expenses of $400,000 in a month or something
Okay.
along those lines.
It was a specific, it was relative to a specific comment that you had made.
Yeah, so it was
Okay.
just clarifying that my discussion was that, what was it? The term we use, underspend, is inappropriate
wasn't
because the
the
money's
underspend?
actually spent, just not.
Oh, I see it.
So I sent them over to you. We can table it until you can have a chance to look at them if you want. 'Cause I was not with it enough to print them out.
Yep. No
So,
problem.
all right, we'll table them until next week, next meeting.
Which will be in
August,
in August.
August 25th.
Okay.
Okay, so correspondence. We did have a bit of that. What did she say? I have my notes. So we had a couple of items in regards to the tax cap. We had the enrollment information from the school and some bylaw links that were sent by Cindy regarding bylaws adopted by other communities. I think that's all that came through. All right.
Just on the bylaws, I don't know if any other committee members had a chance to look through. I just got set up with the town email recently, so I have not had a chance to go through all that, but I do want to take a look at what the other towns state.
They seem to be formatted very similarly.
Yeah.
Like they were all about 10 pages. They all had the same kind of stuff. None of them seemed to address the main issue we were looking to address. They just stated that the committee.
Which was, remind
The
me?
how to deal with a resignation close to the election. So they were pretty plain. They were, the committee shall appoint a person within 30 or 60 days per RSA. Not saying, should be by highest votes or by community search or how they get to that person to appoint, other than that the committee would appoint. So we should definitely look into it. I think it's something we should consider.
Well, I know we have bylaws later in the agenda, so
Right.
do you want to save commentary
We
to
can do that. We
Okay.
can do that, absolutely. But
Alright.
let's see. That brings us down to reports. School business.
Well, I believe the first thing on, one of the items on the agenda is the principal search.
Mm-hmm.
And the search is over. We have a new principal. For those of you who aren't aware of it, his name is Bill Lonergan, and he comes to us from Pinkerton, where he last served. He'd been there off and on, but I think his last stint there was about 10 years.
Sorry, his last name?
Lonergan.
Thank you.
Yep. And he'll actually be starting within a few days.
Excellent.
I know as far as the financials, Cindy sent out that we would discuss those in August.
Mm-hmm.
There'll be more finalized numbers. I can just give you a snapshot if you'd like. Right now, special ed is approximately 290,000 over, or under, should I say. And the regular fund is 13,000 under.
That's a heck of a swing.
What's that?
I was gonna say we went from a surplus to
Yeah.
300 in the hole.
But still, at this time, there's about $730,000 of encumbered monies. So, I mean, it's all gonna start balancing out, and it'll be like another month or so before we get some cleaner numbers.
Okay.
And then I think Cindy had inquired as far as the building committee. And I believe we're waiting for one member to be selected, I believe, from the middle school, if I'm not mistaken. The first meeting will be sometime in July, mid to late July. I believe the next meeting would be in August, and at that point, they should have the information on all the bids. There were 6 companies that came to bid for the project. And then what the committee will do is have a subcommittee to go through those bids and then present to the school board. And the school board will accept one of the bids or accept their decision. And at that point, it'll take the company approximately 3 to 4 months to do the entire check into the buildings and finalize the report. At that point, then we'll have the report.
So last meeting, there was a request to get a budget committee member on that meeting. Has that been dropped?
It's been dropped out of the guidelines as far as what we're looking for as far as the budget committee, but there is a member of the budget committee that will be on there as a citizen, and that'll be Carrie.
So what changed with the budget committee member on there?
Because we wanted a voting member.
Got it.
So all members are voting members. So I'll just add that someone asked at the school board meeting last night as to whether or not it's a conflict of interest having a budget committee member on there as a citizen. And I said no.
Correct.
Yeah, that's about all I have right now.
Was there, I'm trying to find the minutes, I think it was brought up at last meeting, there was another review done by the federal level of the schools?
Yeah.
What was the output of that?
The school board has not discussed the findings as of yet.
It was Homeland Security.
It was Homeland
Homeland
Security.
Security, thank you. I was trying to
Came
find
in,
it.
and what they do is a study of all 3 schools,
Yeah.
and they'll give their insight as far as what can be done. And I mean, it varies from one item to another. But they just go through all the schools looking for security and gives their opinion as far as things that can be.
I'm just thinking, right, in the ideal world, that result, right, that document would be something that's shared with this other committee as an input, right?
Some of it will be, but some of
Yeah.
it's confidential also.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so is that all for school? Any questions or anything? All right, moving on to town. We have Troy with us. Hi.
Look here, use this mic, I guess.
So, I don't know if you have a copy of the agenda, but the bullet points would be an update regarding the pipeline, the water, and the tax cap.
Oh, okay.
And anything else you're interested in sharing,
I didn't
but
see the agenda. So what was the first one?
the pipeline,
Oh, okay.
the budget, especially relative to the budget, because the question came up as to, we had that warrant in the
Right.
past, now we no longer have the issue that the warrant was supposed to fund, so what happened?
Oh, okay. I wasn't aware that was one of the topics, but I can address it the best I can, with
Okay.
the knowledge that I have. So, as we all know, the Kinder Morgan suspended the project. We all know that. It's old news. The Municipal Pipeline Association is still meeting. We had some issues that were in the works still, and so we're still working with the attorney, just trying to wrap things up. So, but pretty much all the communities have told legal counsel and have made it a formal notice to the committee that all of their towns, you know,
Right.
are done. And a lot of that is due to the way that the wording of the warrant articles were written. You know, there's still a lot of work that could be done, lobbying up in Concord and even doing some work with a federal delegation to try to get some laws changed, make some changes in case, you know, a pipeline project appears again, which could. So the warrant article that was passed at town meeting was a non-lapsing article, I believe. So the selectmen, we haven't discussed it, but I'm sure when we start preparing the budget and talking about warrant articles, we'll either come forward with a warrant article to undo what we did last year. We could just elect to leave it there in case the pipeline project appears again. I think that's, you know,
So currently then, the plan would not necessarily be to roll it right into the general fund. It wasn't a special warrant article. We're just gonna.
It was
wait
a
and
special
see.
warrant article, it's non-lapsing, so the funds can only be used for that specific purpose only. So that's what I'm saying, if we did nothing,
Right.
it would literally sit there, sort of encumbered, until year 2000, I don't know what it was, 19.
And just for my own clarity, right, it was about $15,000?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Oh, Troy, isn't it true that they just suspended, they didn't withdraw? So technically, it still sits.
It still sits there, but they've, I don't know if it's officially withdrawn at this point, but
And that was kind of
it
the
is
word.
going to be
It is,
withdrawn.
okay, all right. And I think that's what they were looking for. The big thing was withdrawals
Right.
as opposed to a suspension.
Yeah. I think they just, their initial, just to get the word out, they used that word suspended until they could get the formal documents submitted.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
yeah.
All right. And then the water that we're facing with.
So, as you know, we've, regarding like the pipeline funding, so the budget committee doesn't get confused, if you read anything in the papers or have heard, we basically had two pots of money to fund the legal effort for the pipeline. One was the article that was just passed the town meeting this year, which appropriated about the 15,000 something. And prior to that, the selectmen had encumbered funds or appropriated funds that came from various sources that were unanticipated. And so they held the public hearings and they accepted those funds and they appropriated them for, specific purposes. One of which was about $18,000 for the pipeline fence. And not all those funds were used. So we held a public hearing a couple weeks ago to reappropriate those funds and sort of redesignate them towards the water contamination issue. And that was about $11,700. So, just so you know, I mean, if I'm sitting here tonight telling you, we're not gonna spend the town meeting warrant article money, and then you hear that we're spending $11,700 on legal counsel from pipeline funding, two different pots. So, and just to make it clear, the money that was raised at town meeting, we have used some of those funds for some of the bills that have come in. So, but anyhow, as I was just in Concord today with Chairman Byron, road agent. We had a meeting, we had St. Gobain was at the table, we had New Hampshire DES represented by almost all departments, New Hampshire DOT, and Pennachuck Waterworks. So the discussion is the status right now, St. Gobain has signed a contract with Pennachuck Waterworks to design a water system for the impacted area in town. They're working on that. Based on the engineer estimates that will come back, St. Gobain will make a decision to either authorize the project to go out to bid to see what the real construction costs are, or if they're really shocked, I guess, they would step back and decide if there's another way to approach this
Right.
and treat the problem. So everyone's just working as hard as we can together as a team to assist Pennachuck, providing whatever information and data as we can so they can get their the plans done and a good engineer's estimate assembled for the cost. If everything goes as planned, and there's a lot of ifs,
Big if.
a lot of ifs in this thing. Everyone's working together as a team effort to see if we, can get this project designed, awarded to contracts. That they're talking about awarding it to 4 different contractors because one contractor couldn't do this amount of work in such a short period of time. Obviously, it's a busy time of the year for contractors, so there's some concern about whether there'll be a workforce available to even do this work this fall. But if everything goes as planned, they would like to start the project sometime late in August.
That makes sense. You want to do it before the ground freezes. so.
And, obviously, the goal would be to try to get everything installed before the ground freezes. And we've been part of the process, making sure that the state, St. Gobain, Pennachuck Waterworks understands what our concerns are about, installing the water line in our roadway system. We haven't really had any pushback on our demands at this point. And the plan is to, they would install the water line in the middle of the travel lane of the road. And then they would be making cuts, for different service lines to each home. We would then backfill all those trenches, put in it's a patch, it would be a permanent patch really, unless we get into cold weather. Let everything set over the winter, let it all settle, and then in the spring we would do an overlay of the entire road. So, in fact, I forgot to say, I believe they would actually be doing a grinding of the road because it'd just be easier than just trying to trench and patch. But those specifics are still being worked out, but we're, definitely we've made it clear we are not going to support any plan that just, trenches down the road, has all the diagonal service lines trenching, and then we're just going to patch them in and leave town.
So you said overlay the road.
So overlay would be.
No, I know what it is, but
Yeah.
which road?
All,
Okay, so it is.
There's a lot of road.
All right, well, you said the road, so I
I'm
didn't.
sorry.
That's
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's gonna be a sticking point too. I mean, like how many miles of road are we talking about roughly?
Quite a bit, I'm sure.
We're good, yeah. I haven't had the mileage that.
But also
20
overlay is very thin,
It's-
too.
It's still
Yeah,
expensive.
it's like an inch, I think, an overlay is like an inch.
Yeah.
Like a 1 inch overlay.
But with that being said, the town would benefit a little bit, just because some of the roads where the construction has to happen aren't in that good of condition. So we would benefit, there's definitely a benefit to it. They're actually in town right now, and maybe you can touch on it. They're actually drilling in town, right?
What they're doing right now is a ledge profile, so whatever you see work being done, they're just drilling, I think, every 10 feet, every 25 feet, just trying to get a good ledge profile, and so no surprise, it's coming back, they're not finding really any ledge, it's good sandy material, so.
Must be run on blue paint because it's everywhere.
It is.
My neighborhood.
I was nervous about
Someone went by,
the,
I'm like,
yeah, I was nervous about the dig safe markings, but then it was pointed out to me, a lot of our streets, we don't have underground utilities, and we don't have a lot of gas utilities
Yeah.
and phone utilities, cable buried, so there are certain streets, though, that got marked up good.
So Troy, just for my own curiosity, there's still this interim period, right, where we still have impacted residents in town. Is some of this $11,700 or so dollars being set aside to help those particular residents with water, or is St. Gobain still picking up the bill and supplying water to those residents?
No, so the 11,700 that we have right now for legal counsel, that's all going towards legal expenses.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, that is, it's.
It goes quick.
It's gonna go really, very quickly. We're gonna have to find a way to, find additional funding. But, we're looking out for the town's interest, basically our infrastructure. But with that being said, being, a delicate line, we're, also trying to make sure we look out for the residents and the homeowners. So, but that, there's a difference between a homeowner sitting there saying, I've been damaged, my health has been at risk, I'm losing my water, I'm losing, this and that, and that's sort of a private issue that homeowners will be addressing on their own if they choose. But having the water delivered to their homes is all being paid for by St. Gobain and being coordinated through New Hampshire DES. We've assisted with those efforts and some of the mass distributions initially.
Right.
And we've recorded those costs, and we expect to get reimbursed. And we've not heard that we will not. Those costs right now is somewhere around $7,500.
Okay.
Troy, what about the legal fees coming back? Obviously, we didn't ask for this to happen, and as a town, we have to now absorb this unintended consequence. Can we look at that as far as the
I'm sure
fine?
that's gonna be one of our demands. We literally just was able to get legal counsel on board just maybe 2 weeks ago. So we've only met once, and and we're just really starting to, collect facts and start to put together our strategic legal plan.
Again, I think it's great that you're looking out to make sure that they leave the town better than it was, as
Right.
far as the roads and those type of things, so.
Okay. And then the tax cap information that was sent.
Sure. So I'll hand this around. It's,
Thank you.
So really, the last page is some of the information that you, Cindy, I'm sure, forwarded to you, spreadsheet that I prepared.
Yep, that was included.
So before we get into that, I wanted to make sure, I'm not sure if it's actually clear with the Budget Committee, that we had a legal technicality occur through the adoption of the tax cap.
Oh, yes, but
Yeah.
we know
You
that
know about that, yeah.
that it's
About the
not
public hearing, it
technically
didn't get announced,
formal.
published. And so we're gonna have to go through the
Right.
same process again next year.
Right.
Okay.
We
I'm glad you
understand
know
that there's
okay.
a clear will, but it's not yet binding.
And, based on the vote
Right.
last year, there's no
It'd be
reason to
silly
believe
to
it won't.
not at least take that into consideration.
And that was, so you understand that was the reason for the selectmen not having a
Right.
special town meeting. They wanted to
Right.
make sure it was the same,
Right, didn't
opportunity, so.
But I think the question we had was, do warrant articles also are included? And that was a yes, no, let's
Right.
go find out.
And that's some of the emails, I know, that Cindy had forwarded. I consulted with our own legal staff and the New Hampshire Municipal Association legal counsel that we get that service for free and with our annual dues. And both have come back and have clearly stated that the tax cap is not just the operating budget, it's all warrant articles that are raised at town
All
meeting.
recommended warrant.
All articles that would pass.
Right, so like,
Well, for the, I'm sorry, for the Budget Committee.
right, so like if there's 5 of them on there and we recommend 3, only those 3 count
That's
toward-
right.
Right. So we might end up with a bunch of 0-0 votes.
That's true. And then it's a little difficult, sometimes it's difficult to understand the use of fund balance.
Okay.
Because we have warrant articles, very common,
Right.
that we have warrant articles where we'll raise and appropriate X amount of money and we'll reduce it by the use of fund balance.
Right, it's actually a 0 impact.
Right. So, in that case, the use of that fund balance is not considered part of the calculation when you're required to add back the fund balance. So if you look at the spreadsheet, I'll explain that to you. The way that you calculate your tax cap base, you'll see in the, just take 2016, for example. So you take a look at your prior year tax commitment, we're just looking at town here, so that's why less revenues and everything. So the $3,393,739. That was the tax commitment. Then you would add back the use of fund balance that the selectmen choose to use when they set the tax rate. They have the right, when they set the tax rate, to reduce the tax rate by the use of the unassigned fund balance.
Okay.
And in the, that all depends on what you have in the bank, and what your comfort level is. So that can be up and down like a yo-yo. So anyhow, if in 2016, the prior year, we did not use any funds from fund balance to reduce the tax rate at all. Even though there were some warrant articles that said we want to raise $60,000, of which $60,000 will come from the fund balance. They're a wash anyhow, and there's really no tax impact, so that's why, it's
Okay, so it's only the money used to
it's the money
offset
that the selectmen use
To
the
offset.
prior year to reduce taxes.
Okay.
It took me a while to actually comprehend that, that terminology, and that's where when you see my correspondence with the attorneys, verifying, is that your interpretation of the state law?
Right.
And they both came back with the same response.
Okay.
So then that would get you, the next column, we didn't use any fund balance, so the tax cap, you don't see it in there, but I've added 175,000.
Right.
And there's your tax cap. So we're not allowed to raise any more than, the net amount of $3,568,739.
Okay.
So then I went on to look at the gross appropriations for this year. That's our gross appropriations, less our revenues. I added back in the veterans credits, the overlay, and then you get your current year tax. So when we go to set the tax rate this year, it would look, I don't know how some of this will turn out, but.
What would the overlay be, because that's 3 times?
The overlay is the amount that we determine, that amount is again at the discretion of the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
It's set because it's used when we have to grant abatement of taxes.
Okay.
So, traditionally, I think the town has probably always been right around the $50,000
Yeah.
figure. That's been but we have some issues that we're aware of with Fairpoint Utilities and Pennachuck Utilities.
Go figure.
So
So those, I know for sure, Pennachuck, we actually, the assessing company made an error with their calculations, and it was discovered when we sent out the first tax bill, and we've corrected that. So, it was just an administrative error. So we lost about $5 million of tax base because of that mistake. Even after that adjustment, we were aware that Pennachuck's still not happy with their assessed value and actually scheduled to meet with the Board of Selectmen to discuss that next Monday night.
I'm not happy.
I don't know how that's gonna
I'm
turn
not
out,
happy with my
but,
water bill. Can I
Yeah.
sit down and talk to them?
but that's what overlay is for. It's just for when we abate the taxes.
I'm just see it, because I'm like, it's 3 times what was previous and about
Right.
significantly more than the average in the past 10 years.
And that amount won't be set until September when we do our tax bill, so I'm
Okay.
just trying to show that,
Yeah, my question is
I'm
that.
just making that
is
number,
that
thinking it's going to be something like
significantly
that.
conservative, Or is that like?
Yeah, that's just me calculating, and the
To be
selectmen
determined.
obviously would approve that number in September. And things may change with our knowledge of whatever agreements are made with
I hope
any
so.
of these companies.
Or you can just remind Pennachuck that they're getting all these new clients in, that
Yeah.
brand new infrastructure in our town, so.
I know.
Well, if that happens, not only that, there's talk about fire hydrants
Yeah,
coming
listen.
in. So if fire hydrants come in,
Yeah.
that's gonna be an
That
impact
should
on
be
the
part of
town
the
as well.
discussion with St. Gobain, because if they're
Yeah.
putting in fire hydrants we didn't have before, why should I be paying for it?
I get it, but let's
But
see what happens.
they're gonna say, your better coverage, your fire department benefits, be happy. That's what's gonna happen. So, all right, so the bottom line is then we have exceeded, huh? We would have exceeded our tax cap.
This year, yeah.
That'll be fun. at the end of
Well,
the year.
we could exceed the tax cap if that's what the voters vote.
Well, yes, sure.
All it means is this budget committee cannot say yes on something, but the money could still be appropriated, voted in, and spent, so.
Yes,
Yeah,
but,
I'm sorry, actually, I missed that, but the tax calculation for this year would be 3.2 million.
mhm.
The tax cap was 3.5, so we would be, this year.
So this is
We would be
under.
under.
We'd be under.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's.
Sorry about that, yeah.
I see the negative, I'm like, oh, we broke it.
Yeah, we'd be under.
Oh.
But that was the default budget, and
Mhm.
so, but at least,
I-
this spreadsheet was sort of put together by New Hampshire Municipal Association's finance director, and they kicked around with legal counsel, and but I think it's a good, easy format for us to use, and you can keep tracking.
And to Chris's point, yes, sure, we could put forth a budget that blows the tax cap ridiculously out of the water. But in my opinion, that would be an insult to the voters, especially when such a large margin voted in favor of it. We should at least try to get close to that number.
Look, I wasn't making a comment on what we should do or shouldn't do. I was just
No,
stating fact that.
We can.
Right, that a tax cap, even if it was valid, unlike it is this year, really doesn't have to prohibit spending.
Right. And that's within the
Right.
purview of the Board of Selectmen.
Right.
I think as a committee, we should try to honor the will of the voters and keep that into consideration when we actually put forth a budget for consideration.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
You could see the budget committee, putting together a budget, meets the tax cap. However, you're gonna be put in a position where you may have to, you can't support some articles because it'll put you over the tax cap.
Right.
Or you're forced to cut articles in the operating budget or something, and you could find yourself in that position where you might have to stand up at the microphone at the deliberative and say, this is what we're recommending, we're held to the tax cap, we've done our job. However,
would be
we
interesting.
don't have a problem, we support this article, but we couldn't.
But all it takes is a vote at town meeting to suspend the tax cap. So
Well,
then
when
we
you-
could then re-vote it and then support them once
Yeah.
it's suspended. I mean, I understand that concern, but
So,
to me,
yeah.
that's
Deliberative session is not subject to the tax cap.
exactly. So I understand the concern, especially when there's some big issues coming up down the pipeline, but not enough people were concerned about that concern that they voted. People voted in favor of it, so I think we should respect that. So are there any other issues there? Otherwise, move on to the review of expenditures.
Yeah, we on the front page, what I did was just did some bullets. We're still working on, with our financial software company, and trying to reformat the budget report that we currently have. And the reason that I'm doing that is we're trying to do something I thought was pretty simple of, having the budget column, what was approved at town meeting, which is the default budget, and then to have some other columns where we could show our adjustments, and then the revised
I like that.
budget. Because if we take $30,000 from the police department, I want them to be able to see, here's your revised budget. The
Yeah.
selectmen have voted to take X amount so we can cover a cost somewhere else.
Right.
And I expected to have that. We started this discussion back in April, and we're told now it's going to be closer to the 1st of July when we receive the report. So
Well, it appears you're well on your way. I mean, this,
we're getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but it's still not perfect. But so you'll see the emails that you get on a weekly basis, that report. In a couple of weeks, the formatting will change a bit. I think it's going to be cleaner and, a lot easier to read. So all I wanted to say was that, we have a default budget, it ended up being $5,359,717. We have about $3,048,000 remaining, or 56% expended, remaining, I'm sorry. So we're sitting about where we should be right now. Some of the highlights, if you haven't heard, we did hire a full-time firefighter, and that firefighter was fully certified as a paramedic.
So what does that do for our training?
So,
Will we still be trying to train somebody, or?
no, that article was specifically for the individual that we were gonna hire. So
Okay.
that's another article that, we'll have to be addressing I think that was another non-lapsing, I'm not sure. The fire station exhaust system, the RFP, I've seen the RFP, and I think that's either about to go out or it's out. So that process has started. We expect the 2 police cruisers to be in service sometime in July. This year, we were able to utilize the Prisoner Community Service Program. Last year, for whatever reason, just didn't have, the timing didn't work out. And we were able to do some improvements down at Darapon. They did some work at Town Hall. And of course, they do the spring cleanup at the cemeteries. And I think the school's in line to do some work here soon as well. Another thing that I've done with support of the Board of Selectmen, changed the renewal policy dates for our health, dental, and our property liability insurance. All of our policies, for whatever reason, renewed on the 1st of July. And so we were able to talk with the providers and work out a plan so that we could have them renew on the 1st of the year. I'm hopeful that this way we'll be able to have a real number prior to the adoption of our budget. I'm sure the number will still come late. It'll come in December, but at least,
Instead of spanning 2 fiscal
it
years.
won't be coming in March or April when we've already gone through the budget approval process. Just learned this week, Captain Donnelly will be retiring. So he's going to be retiring July 30th. So we've got some organizational structure and staffing issues to talk with the chief about there. It's going to be a great loss, obviously. He's been here, I think, for over 25 years. He has indicated that he'd like to work in a part-time capacity if we're able to, find a way to do that. So you'll see some discussion about that, and as well as, just some general staffing discussion about the police department. The areas of concern right now in the operating budget, vehicle maintenance for police cruisers, we're actually over budget, $2,700, which is not a good place to be just 6 months into your budget. However, with a couple of new cruisers coming, that will help, but we still will have maintenance costs, so that cost will increase. The building department, hopefully there won't be any more cost with that vehicle. We had some issues. We had transmission issues, we had some brake issues, tire issues, but everything seems to be running solid right now. The annual budget for the budget department maintenance is $200. So, but still, $1,600 or over.
Sorry, on the vehicle maintenance for police.
Yes.
Is the maintenance specifically tied to the old Crown Vics that are still in service? Or is it I'll call it the newer vehicles, the SUVs that?
Yeah, it's a mixture. I think it's really more of the SUVs. We lost a water pump. I know the chief had some issues with his transmission. We had an exhaust system that we had to replace.
Those were covered
Brakes.
under warranty, though. No?
Yeah, some of this
I don't know.
work isn't, is not under warranty.
That's when you need to read the fine print,
Yeah.
as far as warranties, you know what I mean?
Do you know how long they carry a warranty on those?
I don't.
It's a
I
Ford.
will find out when the two new ones come
Yeah.
in. I would think it's a standard 3-year, 36,000.
I could be mistaken.
Could be wrong.
I'm going back years now when we had this debate about vehicles, right? And I thought the decision was to lease over purchase, mainly because of the extended warranty that was being offered on those vehicles.
No, you didn't get any additional warranty with the lease.
You didn't?
No.
Well, I know with heavy equipment, but you might be able to do it with the police cruisers too. When you do lease,
You could
No, I'm
purchase,
sorry.
you
I'm
could
sorry.
purchase
You're
additional
right.
warranties with a lease or a purchase, but
I
it's
seem
not
to remember a
automatic.
discussion about this somewhere along the
Yeah,
line.
it's not automatic. The warranty is the warranty, and quite honestly, we never make the year warranty because
Yeah.
it's the mileage we always hit first.
Right.
Yeah.
But just because it's a lease doesn't automatically give an additional longer warranty. But they could be purchased, it was always my opinion, purchasing the additional warranties are not worth it. Take that equivalent money and put it in the budget for repairs. I think you get a better bang for the buck.
yeah, but I've heard of some towns, when they make the lease purchase, or they finance, they'll wrap the extended warranty into that lease.
Yeah.
So,
I can tell you my agency leases has gone away, and we have fleet maintenance right next door. And
Yeah,
everything's-
in
and everything-
Manchester,
and
no more
everything's under
leasing?
warranty, yeah.
Yeah.
Our whole I shouldn't call them that,
Unmarked?
detectives unmarked are all gonna, the new ones coming in are all gonna be leased, just for that reason. And I had that
Really?
discussion, yeah, and even the patrol cruisers that just take a beating. And again, we are with Fleet that takes care of, you know, the minor stuff.
Mhm.
But the nice part about our water pump goes right down to auto fare.
Boom.
Done.
Boom, done,
Yeah.
it's back in. Again, I know the issue here is obviously the geography of the town, you know, that the cruises are running a lot, but
Yeah.
I'm sure that might be something to look as far as, ours cars obviously run heavy because they run 24/7 and there's very little downtime unfortunately in our city.
But it might be worth considering talking to another dealer, keep the current guy honest. Because maybe if you're willing to pull from Londonderry Ford to Manchester Auto Fair, then maybe they'll cut you a better deal.
We've been with Londonderry Ford a long time.
Yeah, something happens
Nope.
when you aren't with them, when you were with somebody for a long time, they get lazy.
No, I get it.
And they
I
take
get
you
it,
for
yeah.
granted, and you gotta keep them
It's not a
honest.
bad idea whatsoever.
I just know it's, the SUVs are a great vehicle, but they're new, so they're running, that Ford has an awful transmission in it. It's not good for that.
Yeah, we
type
had
of
problems
work.
already with one.
Yeah, and that's.
But again, I don't know if that was a charge. I think that may have been.
Yeah,
under-
you know, I just know that is the biggest quorum is ours. I mean, the SUV is definitely needed in the town, with our whole fleet's going over to them. So, but it's just something to think about maybe when they're looking at, we're obviously purchasing the next two cruises.
Yeah.
I think if I recall, again, correct me if I'm wrong, the newer cruisers that are coming in July, aren't they gonna cycle out the front
They're
line,
gonna
the
s-
original
they'll-
frontline SUVs?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they'll cycle out the front line ones will drop back,
Yeah, yeah.
and then eventually two of them will eventually
Yeah.
become
right.
detail vehicles.
But we'll be seeing in the coming budget money for new SUVs, so it might be
You will,
worthwhile considering shopping those around a little bit.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm
the
sure we're gonna have
purchase-
the warranty
the purchase
discussion
we
then
do.
too.
Okay.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
What about cycling back one of the cars to the chief's car and have the chief's new SUV get put into the fleet?
Yeah, we look at
I
that.
just, you know what I mean? That's something to think about, especially when we're looking at such a big number for the maintenance costs. And I know the chief is a working chief, but I know that our part is to get the new, out to the,
Out to the front line.
exactly,
Yeah.
the one that they need them every day, that they rely on. When they jump into it, that it needs to go. So it's just something to think about.
Good comments. Okay, so, yeah, vehicle maintenance, both in the police and the building department. And pavement markings, we've gone over $4,400, and that was just simply a decision made that some of the markings were in such poor shape, we had to get them striped. And under the police community special detail, there's a line, just in the default budget, it's just been zero. I think it's been at zero for a couple of years. But though, that line is for when we have special detail, that's a non-billable event, which is normally some school function. A lot of this cost here is probably most likely the public meetings we've had regarding the water contamination. So
So then that
there
money
could be
should-
some credits coming in.
Exactly.
For that line. But you'll see this year, when we prepare the budget, I will try to make sure we get some funding for that line, because, again, it's the non-billable events, and we shouldn't be taking funding out of the
Right.
special detail fund that's
One of the questions
self-supporting.
I will have, and I'll just put it out there now as you develop it, I would be looking for a breakdown of that. What would be, say, towards water, and what would be community-related events?
Yeah.
Because I think it should be segregated, because we should try to recoup.
Yeah, yeah, we're keeping a detail.
No, I know, but I just think it'd be nice to see it,
Yeah.
so at least we understand what the composition is that we're supporting as a committee.
Okay. Yeah. And the last thing is, just let you know, is we've prepared a accounts receivable write-off policy, and it's scheduled to be adopted by the Board of Selectmen Monday night. And the driving force really for the policy is because of our ambulance
Yeah, okay, yep.
program. So, as you know, we have a capital reserve, or a revolving fund that we do raise money for. And the purpose of raising those funds is to make sure we pay the town of Hudson for the, services that they're not able to collect. So after they go through their collection process, which is actually done by a third-party
They gotten
vendor
better at it.
called Comstar. What's that?
Have they gotten more efficient in their,
They're getting better. We're actually attending quarterly meetings now.
okay.
So the third-party collection agency is at the table,
Mhm.
the Hudson Town Administrator and Fire Chief and Finance Director, myself, our Fire Chief and Finance Director. So we're having quarterly meetings, and it's being helpful, it's being productive. However, the thing that I'm quickly learning is that there are bills that, no matter what, you're never going to collect them, and that's just the nature of the business. And our auditors continue to make comments in our financial statements that we need to have a policy, and we need to have a process in place where the selectmen look at all of our outstanding invoices and have a process where they can make a determination to write them off. Again, these bills have been paid for, so we've paid the town of Hudson, but they're still on our books as outstanding. Our plan is, and the policy is, that we're going to now take this from the town of Hudson and use another third-party collection agency that will go out and try to collect these funds, and they basically work on a commission. They're probably gonna be able to collect 10% of whatever's handed back to us from Hudson. And then we'll probably be forced with writing off the remaining balance.
Not to sound mean or anything, but would liens be a way of doing that? Because you assume that most of them are residents and not
Well,
from guests.
that's the problem. It's
They're
really not. It's amazing how, there's people that just come and stay overnight at homes. There's people that visit mills and golf courses. There's people in our town that are not residents, and they use the ambulance service, and then they disappear.
Bike journeys, P-World town?
Yeah, we have a lot of activity there, and they, depending on whatever the situation is, they may just never get the name and address of the person, or it's just incorrect information, and
Now they just give false information.
Well, that's-
All the hospitals, it's an ID.
even the hospitals, it's unbelievable. So that's what I'm saying, I'm just learning more about the fact that reality is it's pretty difficult. Now, with that being said, we also have learned that you make contact with someone and they're like, well, we've been waiting, we've been asking, we've been doing this, and we can never figure out where the ball gets dropped. However, we get a check in a week.
Right.
Troy, has Hudson been able to go back? I think one of the big things, again, being kind of new to the board this last part, was the fact that they're past, but they were way behind.
They were way back, and so they've
Have we decided to give them 30, 60, 90 days and then?
they've flushed, that is flushed out, and that's sort of what now we're faced with. We've got this, a large amount. It's about $50,000.
Wait, so some of that money is from Hudson's inefficient processing? Shouldn't they not be responsible for that then?
Well, there would have been
Because if they're putting us in a position where we're chasing down something a year, 2 years later,
No, 3 years.
that should be on Hudson.
Some of them are dated back to,
3 years.
So why
2012
would that be our
or 13, I think.
responsibility? Why would that not be Hudson's responsibility since they did not notify us in a timely manner? Is there not something in the contract that we have with them, that they need to notify us of these expenses within a?
There
certain
was,
period?
but for whatever reason, internally in their processes, through the change in their administrative staff, they had a change in chiefs, I think, and,
Yeah, but I know if I
Extra
get a bill
assistance
2, 3
and-
years later, I'm like,
and,
nice.
right,
Check's void after 90 days, so a bill should be how long?
yeah.
So they're able to be a little bit more finite in their delivery to us?
They are, so far, we're seeing that
Okay.
we've flushed out all of those old invoices, and things are pretty current.
Is their contract up this year, or we still have?
Another year,
Another year.
yeah.
Is there any talk about looking around as far as other, looking at AMR and having them split with Manchester down the south end of the city for a little?
I know
quicker
that-
response?
I know that there'll be some discussion, about that.
Well, yeah, I would encourage the Board of Selectmen to just talk a little more with Hudson and say, look, you've put us in an awkward position, we're willing to split. We should not be going back and paying bills 4 years later. We wouldn't, that's crazy. I mean, if they were that concerned, they would have billed us. That's on them. We can't be chasing people 4 years later who probably, maybe even now live on the West Coast. How do we know?
Well, I think there's even a legal, I don't know if it's 1 year,
Yeah.
but for health insurance, if you're outside the 1 year period,
Exactly.
you're not gonna collect.
So I mean, exactly, there's no reason we should be on, that should be on us.
I think this all stems from, we got that bill, we got a hefty bill from Hudson, and it was, that's where everything started changing, that's when you met with them, right, when we got that
That's when
bill?
we started meeting.
Yeah,
But, yeah, I'm
but
saying.
they weren't billing us on a regular basis.
That's-
So the concern was, what we had in the pot to pay
Mhm.
them.
Yeah.
And they're sending us a $30,000 bill, and we got $10,000 in the
Right.
pot, you know what I mean? So, and some of it was uncollectible, I believe, right, on that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's at this point in time, it's
Yeah, I'm just saying.
timed out and, or
I
just
do-
missing in that, I mean, the people just can't be found, bad addresses and stuff.
I do think it's good that we're going in protecting our interests as far as chasing down the money, but I just want to make sure that we're getting it in a timely manner. We're not getting it at 11 months and giving these people some time to do that, you know what I mean? It's-
I think it's made everyone a lot more accountable by having,
Absolutely.
having the quarterly meetings and having, the reports right there and the third-party vendor there. It's been productive.
Right. But that's all like unexpected expenses that we had to, because we have to pay people to be there. We didn't expect to have to manage them to manage their system.
Right.
And so, from that perspective, I know if it came to me, I wouldn't pay them, so it would just be, I'd like to encourage you guys to.
Yeah, the only thing not on the list here, I just wanted to, I forgot to put it on here, but we had a meeting earlier this week, I think it was Monday. We had school officials there and town officials, and we met with Liberty Utilities to see if we could start a discussion about the possibilities of trying to extend the natural gas service lines to town and school facilities.
Including this building?
So this one would probably be the easiest, is my understanding, to get gas to.
It's right at
Because
Cutler,
it
right?
terminates at Cutler, and, we could probably run it between the sidewalk and Albuquerque.
I bet you if you talk to neighboring residents, they might be willing to tie in.
So, well, that's part of their, so anyhow, we sat down, we had that discussion, and they seem to be very open to it, and we're gonna be working with giving them data, and they're gonna be doing some research, and I just think something, I really felt the meeting was positive, and I do think something's gonna come out of it. Good. So.
Interesting.
I won't go through this, but if you're interested in taking a look at the second page, these are some of the adjustments that we made to the default budget. So you can see the increases and decreases in trying to balance them against the default budget. A lot of this is, knowing, things change. Health insurance policies change, and some of the personnel changed. But that's, that's for something that you guys can take a look at.
Yeah, just at face value, this is extremely helpful, and I
Yeah.
appreciate the bullets in the summary, and I appreciate the snapshot too. It actually addresses a lot of the questions I had when going through the expense report.
Oh, okay.
All right, and just on that note, I know we talked about formatting changes in the coming weeks to be expected. I was really confused when I got this, because I see ambulance at $1.6 million as a total sum, like, wait a minute. All right, our ambulance is like 60 grand, why is it 1.6 million now?
Yeah.
So some of these,
Those are just-
I reconcile it, so we're at the $5.35 million.
Yeah.
Right, so it reconciles, but I think within the file, it doesn't.
The files, I mean, it's just pulling so much data. It's not, relevant to this report. So that's the kind of stuff that's got to be filtered out.
Yeah. And I think my only other observation was that I don't know if there was a rhyme and reason to what was selected for default budget for like 15 allocation for this year versus what was set based upon 16 approved numbers. Again, it's a bottom line budget, I get that, and it all foots. But some of these numbers I felt maybe should have been set to the 15 allocation. Like, as an example, the highway block grant, right? That's at 193,000, but 15 was 173,000. Just one example. So I didn't know if there was some type of rhyme and reason to how the numbers were adjusted for the default.
Well, that would be, that block grant money comes in.
Yep.
And is specifically supposed to be used for the road improvements. So.
And there are several other instances where it seems like 15 was set to 16 numbers, but probably should have been set to 15. And I'm not including contracts or, things that I could justify an increase to because of contractual obligations,
Right.
like fixed cost type things.
Yeah.
So,
But when we get the new report, we'll take a look at that.
okay.
So we're all looking at real numbers. And then I'll just wrap it up, just to give you a quick update on the road projects this summer. And what I've done is, I've just, started off just trying to summarize the funding sources that we have. We had the warrant article at $200,000 that was approved, the block grant, Andy just talked about, at $193,000. We carried in the operating budget miscellaneous repairs at $25,000. And the board voted this year to use up to $77,840 from impact fees. That gave us a total of $495,000. So the big project is Cutler. The reason it's broken out into Phase 1 and Phase 2, Phase 1 funding was to come from the operating budget, and Phase 2 is to come from impact fees. So we're just tracking that, but it is sort of one project now, just two different funding sources. We have not started that project, and it was actually due to the extension of the natural gas line. And there's still going to be some work on the gas line that we learned Monday, and so we're still going to be holding off, hopefully the end of July,
So maybe. in time
maybe
to-
sooner.
Hopefully done by school starts.
I hope, yeah.
Okay, I drive that road a lot.
Pinecrest is done now. But it's not paid in full. That's our estimated cost. But that should be paid in full here in the next 2 weeks. We should get the final invoices. Pilgrim is done, same thing, not paid in full. And Nesson-Keg and Nacomo are both done, but not paid in full. Ronissa was it was a culvert replacement, and pavement. That's done and paid in full. And the fire station, we were able to pave the area of, greatest concern. That's done and paid in full. I just noticed that Albuquerque actually just got done. Driving down here, there was an area we had to patch. It was in pretty bad shape. Albuquerque is interesting. If if you're driving along this summer, you pay attention. Everyone thinks it's in really good shape. There are areas of Albuquerque that's going to need attention, in the near future.
You get the worst part, though, the other day.
Yeah, we did. And then Sparrow is a small little cul-de-sac almost across the street from here. It's in really bad shape, but that's not scheduled yet, but planned. So if everything goes well, we have no surprises at Cutler. And some of the other projects that are, scheduled or not paid in full yet, we're looking at about $17,000 remaining.
Which is not a lot.
It's not a lot with construction, so I think we're sitting really good on our paving this year.
Yeah, it looks like you got a lot accomplished, or will get a lot accomplished, so.
And as you know, Hillcrest, which is a state road, we got very lucky. We had received reports that was a low priority for the resurfacing plan this year. And something changed from like less than 2 weeks. And I think it was really just something, an agreement between DOT and Continental Paving to get to move it up on the schedule and get it done. So one of the benefits of having Continental Paving in your community.
How far are they going downhill, Chris?
Well, they do
They're
the
going
damage.
all the way down to 3A.
Yeah, they're going all the way.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Yeah. You have
So
a
that-
So from
that's-
Pinecrest all the way down?
Wiley Hill.
Wow.
All the way?
Oh,
Yeah,
I haven't been down that
Wiley-
way, that's why I
yeah,
asked.
Wiley Hill.
which needed it bad.
Oh, it's-
Oh, yeah, that's a
Yeah.
bad road.
Falling
yeah.
apart.
I've seen the stuff on the side of the roads
Yeah.
with
Awful.
the traps.
The shoulders, I can't
Yeah.
believe.
It's nice to
they
have
haven't done
Continental,
it.
seeing they're the ones that do all the damage to the road.
Yeah.
Well, like,
Okay, see trucks up and down. Troy, what can the town use impact fees for, or is there anything you can't use them for, should I say? 'Cause I know the school's pretty restricted as far as what they can use them for.
right. It's a really, you know, for the road projects, we did a little research. And there are different roads that are identified, that are, you know, major collection roads. So,
You could argue increased traffic as a result of additional people, additional weight and bearing
I
on
mean,
the
just,
road.
but you couldn't do a little, you know,
Right.
Ronissa, you know, you couldn't do something like that. It needs to be one of the major arteries of the town
Yeah.
where everyone's using that road. And a development would definitely have an impact on the road. We're using money right now for the fire station. We're using impact fees to look at what expansion opportunities exist for the existing building, and that's an appropriate use. And it's appropriate use to start designing a new station. And at the school, I think it's appropriate use to take a look at, you know, any preliminary architectural studies to look at expansions as well.
Right, it has to be an expansion, though.
It would have to be, yeah.
It can't be existing.
You can't, you know, it really wouldn't be an existing improvement, because you're not expanding for growth.
Right.
It's gotta be an expansion, I would say, yeah.
All right. Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
very
It won't be long, I guess,
Not that.
September, I saw Cindy's schedule, and
Yeah, it's a help.
be in here sometime in September, I think.
Yeah.
Can I get one of those for the school?
All right, so that moves us
Working on
on to member input, miscellaneous business, bullet point of bylaws. So we'll
Different transfers.
You guys done?
Yeah, we're done.
Thanks, sir.
Let's circle
You got
back. All right, yeah,
Yeah,
bye.
go ahead. I just want to touch base with him.
Okay, no problem. But we can circle back to bylaws now. All right.
So, no, I mean, so just to follow up to our discussion, you know, an hour ago, I'd like just to take some time to go through what the other towns have in place.
You didn't have to print out copies of any of them, did you? You didn't have to print out any of those bylaws, did you?
I don't think I got, no, you mean the.
Yeah, the links,
No,
yeah,
I-
Yeah.
yeah, okay, yeah. So I.
But I think it's more than just figuring out, right, how the committee will act in the event that we have.
Right, there's,
It's really procedures and governing procedures for the committee across a variety of different topics.
right, it starts with, like, there will be a chairperson and what the
Yeah.
function of the chairperson is, and then to the vice chair, and who takes over if both those are vacant, and then the minute, it's
Probably
very,
member absences and,
yeah, when
Yeah.
you can be kicked or
Yeah.
asked to resign.
But that's
or
all-
Fired.
that's
it's
all
all
in
in
the
the
RSA.
RSA, but we can essentially
You kind of more make it your own.
state, right.
Because one of them
But-
says that in the event of an absence, you would
Three
nominate.
consecutive absences,
Well, even
right?
in the event of a resignation.
Yeah.
That they will nominate within 60 days.
Yeah.
Another town says 30 days.
Yeah.
So there is some give and take, some leeway.
And what does the RSA say?
It's 3 consecutive absences.
No, I'm
No,
sorry
for-
about the resignation.
Oh,
when
the
you need-
resignation,
It's
yeah.
within what time? I know I read it once, I can't remember.
I don't know. I didn't get that detailed. I looked through it. Each one was 10 pages, and they were very similarly formatted. And it went through the various positions, meeting minutes and all that stuff, and
I'm guessing my question is, do we need to go through the whole process of putting on our pieces of paper the same words that are already on the RSA? That's all I'm really asking, because the RSA is pretty thorough with most things. It governs, it tells you what you can and you can't do. So if we want, are we just gonna kind of repeat it and maybe tweak a word or two and just write it down to have a bunch of, a stack of papers? Or is there anything specific we want to address that we're legally allowed to address?
I think it's a valid point, right, but I think for today, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at them or others. Right, I mean, I don't think we know the answer to that, because we don't know what these other towns have put in their bylaws, because we haven't reviewed them yet, right? So I think
So
before we can address
right.
that, we need to see what they're all about.
Right, the answer from the NHMA was, no, there's not a template, is basically what they,
But it sounds like there kind of is, if they're all in a similar format. Right.
right.
You know, I could see the one issue that prompted this was, which might be important, and it might not be an issue, but let's assume it is important, is how do you go about? Because the RSA just says you will appoint.
Right.
And it's the responsibility of this group. In other words, it's not the responsibility of the selectmen. And then another thing, for example, you cannot, we as a body cannot do what an RSA doesn't give us, allow us to do.
Sure.
So, for example, when the subject came up about having a special meeting, well, the RSA doesn't allow that, so that's out of the question. So basically, it's fine tuning that this board will appoint, so we just want to go through the procedure, meaning, are we going to take who got the next highest votes?
right.
And it's a timing thing too, because I think the question was more about timing, right? I mean.
If a resignation occurs within 60 days or 30 days of the election, we will do this.
So
and after that-
I could see.
RSA is a policy, this is procedural.
Right, and I could see where we could discuss that and put that in writing, where you could put a time certain, within X amount of days, you will use whoever received the most amount of votes.
Right.
After those, then you will do this process. So that I could see being valid. A lot of the other stuff, to me, that would just be filler. I mean, because I read some of that too briefly. It says you will have a chairperson and they will do
Right.
this. Well, just photocopy the RSA and put it in there, or we could, you know, because it says, it's clear.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I mean, the other
Now,
thing-
now, back when I was in school, and we had to type a report, I used a lot of filler words to just make the report look bigger.
Decrease the font and
And you
spacing.
make it larger, double space, and just put
Increase
a
the
lot of
margins.
unnecessary words. I'm saying now we don't have to do that, because we're not getting graded on it, so.
Right. But the other thing is too, we could think about is how do we want to handle the tax cap since it's not officially, official, like.
I don't think,
Do we-
we can't, I don't think we,
Well, then we can discuss how we want to
Yeah.
handle it. Does everybody want to
but you
just
can't put
ignore
that.
it?
Oh, we could definitely discuss it, but I don't think we
That's not
can't put
something
that.
in bylaws.
Yeah, we can't put that in bylaws. We can't put that in bylaws. We could discuss it, but you can't put that in bylaws.
I think the big thing to cover is as
Yeah.
far as the resignation
Right.
aspect. I think that needs to be dressed in black and white, so whoever the next people are here 5 years from now have proper guidance instead of saying, well, this happened or that happened, and, taking people's word. It's in the
Just gotta be you
bylaws.
just gotta be careful, though, I mean, what you wish for. Okay, let's say there's 3 people running, and one person, and you have 2 seats, and one person, nobody wants. But that person gets a handful of votes, and then someone resigns, and you're gonna be stuck with someone that nobody wants.
And then you should have put somebody else up.
Again,
Just-
then.
just saying.
Then I'm
It's a fair
careful,
point.
Huh?
what I want is something written down so that.
I'm not
it
talking
goes-
about you.
Exactly.
Even then,
Some-
though,
Something for it to go by so that you have something to look at and say, all right, this is how it's done. Regardless of, I appreciate that fact and I certainly don't wish for it, but I just watched this whole evolution of, well, this happened and
Yeah.
that happened. Let's just have something that if someone's brand new to the board, they can look and say, all right, it's within this time frame. This is what happened. Like you said, if that's the will of the people and they get the votes, well,
So, yeah,
The other
that's what
thing
they,
is-
that's who gets on the board, and you know what, that is what it is, but.
time your resignations for the 61st day.
Yeah, I guess, and I mean, the timing of a resignation, I mean, if people are thinking they're going, they should go prior to the election, so people can vote.
Yeah, that's correct.
That's my opinion, I find it, the timing of certain resignations, obviously, maybe it's my cynicism but kicking in, but, all of a sudden that happens, and it puts everybody here in a bad situation, so I appreciate that, but I think if anything comes out of it, Chris, photocopy the RSA, but just put that next part that if, someone resigns between this first day to 90 days, it's the next vote getter, and then 91 days, they apply for it.
When I first came to this board, I asked, and the board did it. We all had a discussion about what the RSAs were, because how many people really know most of these RSAs? I mean, how many people knew that you're not supposed to go, you don't have the right to go on a special election? Now, first year I was on, we went through it, we read each RSA, and I think it's important to do all the time, but short of that, let's photocopy the RSAs. To me, they're very clear, and they're not even long. It's a half a paragraph, couple sentences, most of this stuff, and include that in the bylaws. And let's just not have filler is what I'm getting at. Let's not do this for the sake of creating a long document.
No, that's a good idea, like, going,
If you- I like it short, if you
Yeah.
can get it all on 3 pages, that's
Yeah,
even
let's
better.
keep it focused.
Let's
And
do the
I-
Cliff Notes version of it.
Our main issue is just what we just discussed. Our main issue is what happens if somebody resigns.
okay, so Cindy's notes is, what do they want in it? So want potentially copies of the RSAs and how to handle resignations. Since she's not here, should we nominate her to draft it? Her next question was,
What was-
who will write a draft?
I nominate anybody but me.
Let's do this. Let me so touch base with Cindy, have her reach out to me. We'll work
Okay.
together,
Cindy
and
and-
we'll put a proposal together for August. Is that reasonable?
Perfect, I like it. It's actionable
good to me.
actions.
Somebody's gonna get it done.
Absolutely. I don't want to just tell her we talked about it, we need actionable items. All right, so,
But I will caveat that I am going to review the other bylaws, right, from the other towns, and we'll make a decision as to,
they're 10 pages, shouldn't take long.
well, I know, but if there's something worthwhile, that
No,
we'll bring
absolutely.
it back to the committee and talk about it.
I think that's a wonderful idea,
Done.
because.
Yeah, absolutely. If it fits into our town, why wouldn't you? Why, you don't have to
Well,
reinvent the
that's it.
wheel.
I'm not gonna,
Exactly.
my
Yeah.
scope is not limited to this,
Oh,
is my
correct,
point.
absolutely. If
Right,
something
I'm
fits
gonna-
in and it's
right.
written properly, and again, it doesn't, absolutely.
I say we put in there, we all have to attend meetings in formal attire. Should we put that in there?
Vote
We
against that,
could.
right?
Men in
You gotta
suit
wear
and
tux.
ties,
Yeah.
and women in a nice three-piece suit.
Be suit.
How's that? No? Okay.
I have one from college.
Can we put a time limit on our meetings? I'd like to put that bylaw in, especially outside of budget season.
3-hour max.
Oh, no, how about 1 hour and 35 minutes? We all have Sesame Street attention spans, so,
Penalty for every
Okay.
minute over.
yeah.
Okay, you can leave my proposal out.
All right, so are we all set then? So there is an action there. Any other member input or business to discuss? Hearing none. All right, move on to public input. Still no. All right,
I will make a motion to adjourn.
all right. Any seconds?
Second.
Meeting, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.